Our history is not a book. It is a map drawn by the victors, where the edges are marked. Here be dragons. But what if the dragons were never a warning about monsters? What if they were a warning from the monsters? A warning to keep us from finding what was truly there. We are told a comfortable story of steady, linear progress. From scattered tribes to gleaming cities. But all over the globe, in every culture, the myths of humanity tell a different story. A story of lost lands, sunken continents, impossible cities of gold, and sanctuaries hidden from time. We have been taught to dismiss these as fantasies, the daydreams of primitive ancestors. But what if the myths are not myths at all? What if they are fragmented memories? On this channel, we have hunted for Atlantis. We have proven that some myths are, in fact, terrifyingly real reports. But Atlantis was not the only one. It was just the first chapter. Now, new evidence, geological data from deep-sea cores, advanced LiDAR scans that pierce the canopy of impenetrable jungles, and rediscovered scientific principles is forcing a reckoning. The map is being redrawn. Today, we are not just telling stories. We are funding an expedition, using the power of generative artificial intelligence to visualize the worlds our cameras can never see. We are going in search of 5 mythical lost lands that new evidence suggests existed. Land 1. Lemuria, Mu. Our journey begins in the vast, blue expanse of the ocean. The legend, Lemuria, or Mu. It was, according to 19th century mystics, a paradise, a mother continent, the cradle of humanity, populated by a peaceful, spiritually advanced race, a civilization that lived in perfect harmony with the earth. Then, in a single, terrible day, a cataclysm. The continent was swallowed by the sea, leaving only the scattered islands of Polynesia as its tombstones. For 100 years, this story has been dismissed by science, and for good reason. The theory of plate tectonics is clear. Continents do not simply sink beneath the waves. The case was closed. It was a fantasy. But the myth makers were just looking in the wrong ocean. The legend of Lemuria. Maybe a displaced memory. A memory of a real, massive, and now sunken landmass. But it wasn't in the Pacific. It was here. Meet Sundaland. During the last ice age, so much of the world's water was locked up in glaciers that sea levels were 400 feet lower. This land was real. It was a continent-sized paradise. Tropical, fertile, and crisscrossed by 4 massive river systems. It was the heartland of Southeast Asia. And then, the Great Flood came, the end of the Ice Age, culminating in the Younger Dryas climate cataclysm, 12,800 years ago. This wasn't a myth. This was a documented, catastrophic, geological event. The sea rose, and this entire civilization was drowned. Its people were forced to flee, scattering to higher ground, becoming the seafaring cultures of Polynesia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The myth of a sunken paradise, a motherland lost to the sea, is the single most persistent and sacred story in all of these cultures. Is that a coincidence? Or is Lemuria the name they gave to the home they lost forever, the very real and very drowned continent of Sundaland? We have found a paradise drowned by water, its memory surviving as myth. But what about a civilization hidden not by the ocean, but by an impenetrable wall of green? A kingdom of gold that science insisted for 500 years was an absolute impossibility? Land 2. El Dorado, the Amazon. For 500 years, it has been the grave of ambitions. Thousands of explorers have died in its depths, searching for one thing: El Dorado. The legend began with a gilded man, a Muisca king, who coated himself in gold dust. But the legend grew. It became a city, a kingdom, an empire of impossible wealth, hidden in the jungle. Science, again, dismissed this. The Amazon, we were told, is a counterfeit paradise. The soil is too poor, too acidic. It cannot support large-scale agriculture. Therefore, it could never support a large-scale civilization. El Dorado was a fever dream, a fantasy of greedy, desperate men. The explorers were just using the wrong tools. They were using machetes. They should have been using lasers. This is LiDAR, a technology that can see through the canopy. And in the last 5 years, what it has found has rewritten history. 5 LiDAR, 5 LiDAR, and I've company. In the remote Llanos de Mojos, in Bolivia, they found them. Not villages, cities, vast, sprawling urban centers. A grid of roads, raised causeways running for miles, canals, reservoirs, and pyramids, hidden in plain sight. This was the Kasarabe culture, a civilization so vast, so organized, it rivaled the cities of ancient Rome. And what did they eat? How did they solve the impossible soil problem? They didn't find good soil. They invented it. This is Terra Preta, Amazonian dark earth. A man-made, self-regenerating, super-fertile soil, created from charcoal, pottery shards, and organic waste. They were advanced bioengineers. They weren't just farmers. They were terraformers. The myth of El Dorado was real. The conquistadors just got the details wrong. It wasn't a city of gold. It was a kingdom of knowledge. A civilization so rich in engineering and ecology, it looks like magic to us, even today. We have found civilizations swallowed by water and by jungle. But what about a land that vanished into ice? A mythical white land at the top of the world that should be nothing but a frozen wasteland, yet was described by the ancients as a place of life. Land 3, Thule, in the 4th century B.C. A Greek explorer named Pythias of Massalia claimed to have done the impossible. He sailed out of the Mediterranean, past the Pillars of Hercules, and north, far north, into the unknown Arctic. He returned with a story that no one believed, a story of a land. 6 days, sail, north of Britain, called Ultima Thule. He described a place where the sun never set, a place where the sea was not water, but was congealed, a thick, slushy substance. He was called a liar, a fantasist. For 2,000 years, Ultima Thule was a metaphor for the edge of the world, a fantasy land. Historians dismissed it. A wooden, oar-powered boat in the Arctic Ocean? Impossible. But Pythias was telling the truth. We now know that his description of the congealed sea is a perfect eyewitness account of what we call pancake ice or brash ice, the state of the Arctic Sea just as it begins to freeze. He wasn't lying. He was reporting. His Ultima Thule was almost certainly the coast of Norway, or perhaps even Iceland. But the real mystery is not that he found it. The mystery is what he found there. The myth describes Thule as a land of life, not just ice. The new evidence is climate data. Pythias was sailing during what is known as the Roman warm period, a time when global temperatures were significantly higher. But this period was just one echo of an even warmer time. The Holocene climate optimum, thousands of years earlier, when the Arctic was dramatically greener and more habitable. The myth of Thule, a vibrant, Green land at the top of the world may be a memory, passed down to Pythias from an even older time, a time when a lost civilization could have thrived at the North Pole. Thule was not a fantasy place. It was a memory of a different time, a memory of a green Arctic that has been lost to ice. A lost land can be a memory of a lost time. But what about a memory of a lost event? A myth of a kingdom that sank beneath the waves. A story that sounds just like Atlantis, but happened in the cold north to the ancestors of King Arthur? Land 4. Lyonessa. It is the Atlantis of the Celts. The myth of Lyonesse. According to Cornish and Arthurian legend, it was a beautiful, rich kingdom, a stretch of land that connected the tip of Cornwall, in modern-day England, to the Scilly Isles, dozens of miles out to sea. It was a land of castles and churches, 140, the legend says. And then, in a single, catastrophic night of storms and terror, the ocean rose up and swallowed it whole. Only one man, the story goes, escaped on a white horse, outrunning the wave. For centuries, this was a ghost story, a local folk tale to explain the violent storms of the Atlantic. A myth. But the fishermen in the area, for hundreds of years, have told a different story. They claim that on calm days, they can still see the walls of drowned buildings beneath their boats. They claim their nets snag on the ruins of a lost world. Science dismissed them. Until now, the new evidence is, once again, geological, and it proves the myth is a fact. Like Sunderland, this area was not always water. Meet Doggerland. This was the true, fertile heartland of Stone Age Europe, and it was populated. Then, the Ice Age ended. The seas rose. Doggerland began to shrink. And then, the final blow. Around 8,200 years ago, a catastrophic underwater landslide off the coast of Norway, known as the Storegga Slide, triggered a mega tsunami. A wave, perhaps 80 feet high, scoured this entire region, wiping Doggerland and all its people off the map in a single day. The myth of Lyonesse is not a myth. It is the very real, terrifying, British memory of the very same global cataclysm that drowned Sunderland. It is the Celtic report of the Great Flood. We have found lands lost to water, jungle, and ice. We have found myths that are fragmented memories of real geological events. But what about a land that isn't on any map? A kingdom that isn't just hidden, but exists in a different state of being. A place that science cannot find, because it is not a place, but a state of consciousness. Land 5. Shambhala. Finally, we journey to the roof of the world, the legend of Shambhala. According to Tibetan Buddhist texts, it is a hidden kingdom, a perfect society, a sanctuary of ancient wisdom, the Kalachakra, hidden from the world. It is a place of peace, ruled by a line of enlightened kings, waiting until a future, dark age of humanity, when it will emerge to save the world. This, surely, is the easiest myth to dismiss. It is not a place. It is a metaphor, a heaven, a symbol for inner peace. But the texts are not metaphorical. They are geographical. They give precise instructions. They describe a land hidden within or beyond the Himalayas. Explorers, like the great Nicholas Roerich, spent their lives searching for it, convinced it was a real, physical place. They reported strange phenomena, flaming orbs in the sky, and a great silence in the mountains. They found nothing, because they were looking for a place. The true evidence for Shambhala is not in geology. It is in physics. The legend of Shambhala, a kingdom that is here, but unseen. A place that exists alongside our world, perfectly describes one of the most advanced theories in modern science, the theory of extra dimensions, of parallel realities. What if Shambhala is not a lost land, but a lost physics, a memory of a civilization, perhaps the same civilization from before the flood, that understood how to access, or perhaps even create, a different state of reality? A pocket dimension? What if the ancients were not spiritual in the way we mean, but were technological, in a way we have tragically forgotten? What if meditation was their interface for a technology based on consciousness itself? Shambhala may be the most real of all these lands, a place that truly does exist, just not on our map. It is the final, profound, zero point in our lore, a memory of a lost science. These are not just 5 stories. They are 5 pieces of a single, shattered mirror. Here at 0 Point Lore, we believe that piecing this mirror back together is the most important mission we have. But we cannot do it alone. We are building a community of explorers, thinkers, and questioners. If you believe this map of our past has been deliberately hidden, subscribe to this channel. We want to know what you think. Of these 5 lost lands, which one do you believe holds the most profound secret? And what mythical land should we investigate next? Let us know in the comments below. Lemuria, which was Sundaland. El Dorado, which was the LiDAR cities of the Amazon. Tool, which was the memory of a green Arctic. Lionesse, which was the cataclysm of Doggerland. And Shambhala, which is the memory of a lost physics. Individually, they are curiosities. Together, they are a pattern. They are 5 distinct cultural memories of a single, lost, global civilization. A civilization that existed before the Great Flood, 12,800 years ago. A civilization that was advanced enough to build Göbekli Tepe. The myths are not fairy tales. They are the fragmented, encrypted, and scattered data files of the world that came before. We have been told history is a straight line, but the evidence is clear. History is a cycle. And these myths are the only map left by the survivors of the last one.